Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Okay, so let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. When do you train clients at your gym in Burnaby? I actually do not train any clients at our Burnaby location. I train all in-house clients at our downtown location, downtown Vancouver, British Columbia. The reason I do not go out to Burnaby to train clients is because my roster is currently full downtown. And on top of that, I'm spending most of my hours in the afternoon and in the early evening working with clients online. So that's the main reason I don't go out to the Burnaby gym to train clients. I do drop in there from time to time, usually drop off towels, say hi to the trainers, see a few clients that I no longer work with in person, but I see them train with the other trainers. So I am there on occasion, usually once or twice a week, but I'm no longer working with any clients on the floor in Burnaby. With that being said, though, if you do want to work with me on the floor and you live in Vancouver, or you're coming to visit Vancouver, British Columbia, you can always book a session with me at our downtown training facility located on Granville and West Hastings Street. Reach out to me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram, @fitcosgrove_, and we'll book in a session. I'm on the floor Mondays through Fridays from 6 a.m. till 1 p.m. and Saturdays from 8:15 till 12:15 p.m. My after-hour sessions run from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My roster is full for the month of November. However, I'm accepting new clients for after-hour sessions in December. So contact me. Let's get something started. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. What's the best way to avoid sugar? I'm addicted and it's in everything. Yeah, so if you're addicted to sugar, okay, here's the first thing. So if you want to fix a sugar addiction, it's not that easy, right? So if you're someone who is constantly craving sugar, that means you have a sugar addiction. So what do we do about that? Well, what I usually do with my clients who are sugar addicts is I start to wean them off processed sugar by incorporating more natural sugar. So, but what I mean by that is I'll incorporate more fruits into their diet. So at least they're getting that natural sugar. I don't even care if that sugar is coming from pineapples, mango, and papaya. The thing is, if I'm going to get someone off sugar from, let's say, candy bars, right, or pastries, right, anything that's overly processed, condiments, how am I going to do that? I can't just take the sugar out because they'll go into withdrawal, right? And I don't want to do that because it's going to make your blood sugar levels fluctuate, your insulin levels crash, you're going to be grumpy, moody, you're going to have no energy. So the best way to wean yourself off sugar is by taking out as much processed sugar as you possibly can while replacing it with natural sugar. Once you've done that for a period of usually 2 to 3 weeks, what I'll typically do with the client then is I'll start to slowly decrease their natural sugar intake. So rather than say, okay, have unlimited fruits, now I'm going to cut your fruit back to 2 to 3 servings a day. And slowly over time, what will happen is I can start to reduce that the natural sugar intake more and more until I get that person down to about 25 to 30 grams of sugar per day. There is a process to go through. You don't just want to take sugar out of your diet. I mean, some people can do that, but I've never met anyone who successfully has been able just to take out sugar completely from their diet. Nor do I recommend taking out sugar completely from your diet. You still want to have about 25 to 30 grams of sugar in your diet on a regular basis, on a daily basis, okay? Our body does need sugar, okay? But our body doesn't need processed sugar. So ideally, we want to get that sugar from natural food sources, right? So fruit would be one of those food sources. And like you said, there's sugar in everything. So the next thing I'd recommend doing is learn how to read food labels. So I answered this question on my Instagram, and I always tell clients, I'm like, when you read a food label, the first thing you should be looking at before you look at carbs, protein, fats, calories, should be the sugar. And if it contains more than 5 grams of sugar per serving, put it back, okay? That means it's not a good quality food source. Save it for a cheat meal. If you want to have it for a cheat meal, have it then. But otherwise, it shouldn't belong in your fridge. It shouldn't belong in your cupboards. It shouldn't belong on your your counters. It shouldn't be in your house. Okay. So that's number one, is learn how to read food labels. Okay. Second thing is don't keep it in your house. Like, don't have this food in your house, because if it's in your house, you're going to eat it. So have it on special occasions. If you're craving it for a cheat meal, go out and have it. Right. If your cupboards are stocked full of like Oreo cookies, well, when you're hungry at night, guess what you're going to go for? Those Oreo cookies. But if your cupboards don't have those Oreo cookies in them and you're hungry at night and all you have in your cupboards are maybe some oatmeal and peanut butter and protein powder, well, you'll go for the oatmeal and peanut butter and protein powder, which contains far less sugar, right? And it's much healthier for you. So don't have it in your house. So that's my recommendation, is that if you're trying to avoid sugar, learn how to read food labels. If it contains more than 5 grams of sugar per serving, put it back. You don't want it. Okay. Keep it out of your house. You don't want it. If it's not in sight, you're not going to be able to get it. You're not going to crave it long term. Okay. As I said, the people say it takes 21 days to develop a habit, and I truly do believe that. So if you can kick that habit of constantly having that processed sugar for about 3 weeks, you'll notice that your blood sugar levels start to regulate themselves and your insulin levels become more stable. So it becomes easier over time. And if you do have a sugar addiction, I'd recommend following the protocol I recommended earlier, which is start to reduce your processed sugar intake and replace it with natural sugar. Okay. And do that for a few weeks, and you'll notice that your blood sugar levels and your insulin levels, they start to stabilize, and you start to crave less and less sugar. And then you can slowly start to decrease your natural sugar intake. It works, but it's a process, and it doesn't work overnight. So you have to be patient. If you're not sure how to do that, my recommendation is to work with either a dietitian or an online personal trainer, someone that does diet plans that can help you along the way. Okay. Because I promise you, if you just take sugar out completely, it won't work. I've yet to meet anyone that's actually worked for. Okay. So that's my recommendation. Okay. Hey, Nick, what did you think about this year's Mr. Olympia? Did you agree with the top 6 placing? I answered this one on my Instagram earlier as well. It's hard to make an informed opinion if you're not at the show and all you're looking at are photos and videos online. I obviously was not at the show. I think the show was in Orlando, Florida, so I didn't go to the show. But from everything I saw from the video content and the photos, I think the judges had it right. I did mention that when I looked at from pose to pose, I do think that Hadi did beat Derek in most poses. So if you're going off just pose per pose, I would have Hadi in first place over Derek. However, when you look at all the bodybuilders' top 6 on stage together, your eyes just zone in on Derek because he takes up so much stage presence. So he, to me, looks like Mr. Olympia. So based on that, I think they had it right. I think that Derek did win this show. Funny enough, I predicted him to win before the prejudging last Friday. So I was actually right about that. So I do agree with the placings for the top 6. I could have seen even Hunter maybe slip into that 5th spot with Andrew Jack, and maybe Andrew Jack in 6th place. But again, I wasn't at the show, but I thought Hunter Labrada looked really good this year, looked a lot better than he did the year before. So his conditioning was much better. So I thought he looked a little bit more fuller and more conditioned than Andrew Jack did. But again, I wasn't at the show. So I could see those two kind of flip-flopping. But no, the top 6, I would have that in that order too. I think it looked pretty good. Derek at 1, Hadi at 2nd, Samson at 3rd. Samson looked great, but in my opinion, he wasn't conditioned enough to beat Hadi or Derek. And then I think it was 4th place went to Brandon Curry. And then 5th was obviously Andrew Jack, and then 6th Hunter. So yeah, I think Brandon Curry deserved 4th place, and pretty amazing that he made 4th place considering that he was in the hospital the day before the show. So he looked good. He's obviously showing signs of aging though, and those legs just can't compete with the top 3 guys at this point. So I don't think Brandon Curry is going to get better with time. I think now that he is getting older, I think we can start to see him possibly slipping out of that top 6, especially with the new breed of bodybuilders coming in, especially once Nick Walker's back next year. So I think this was probably one of Brandon Curry's last years in the top 6. So that's my assessment of the top 6. I think the judges got it right. But again, it's really hard to make an informed opinion when you're not at the show, because no matter how high definition these videos are and these photos are, it's not the same when you're at a show. And trust me, I've been to a lot of bodybuilding shows. So it's just the muscle detail doesn't show the same. Okay. So, but I think the judges got it right. Okay. Nick, I saw your training video and would like to know why you recommend keeping your head on the bench while doing bent over shoulder flies. Okay, so if you go to my Instagram, I posted a shoulder workout this past Sunday that I did at my gym. And one of the exercises that this person is referring to is a bent over rear delt fly. Now, you'll see most people in the gym when they do a bent over rear delt fly, what they typically do is they sit on the bench and they lean over, right? And they do their flies like this. The reason I don't recommend doing that is as you start to fatigue, your body's natural inclination is to come back up, right? And what happens then? You're using momentum. And what happens after that? You start using other muscle groups, synergist muscle groups to assist in that reverse fly. So you're no longer isolating the posterior deltoids. You're now using your lats, you're targeting your rhomboids. You're even using your triceps and biceps to a degree just to get that weight back up. So by ensuring that you're keeping your forehead down on the bench at all times, bending over, you can't cheat, okay? Because your body naturally wants to rise up. But if you're constantly reminding yourself, no, my head has to stay on this bench, you're not going to be able to rise up. So it's a great way to isolate the posterior deltoids. The problem when I see most people when they're training their posterior deltoids in the gym, they're using so much back and lat activation that they're not really isolating their posterior deltoids at all. So they're not getting the most out of the exercise. So with the posterior deltoids, you have to remember, they're very small. They're very small shoulder heads, right? So you don't have to use crazy heavy weight. I think in the video, I was doing flies with 25-pound dumbbells, which is not a heavy weight for me, but I can really feel that contraction. Now, if I were to do it like most people do it and just sit on a bench and bend over, I could probably do it with 45, 50-pound dumbbells, but I would not be targeting my posterior deltoids. I might be working them a little bit indirectly, but I mean, the point is to isolate that particular muscle group. So why would I want to incorporate my lats, my rhomboids, my triceps, my traps, my biceps? This is an isolation exercise, and therefore I need to isolate that muscle group. So you want to keep your form as strict as possible. That's why I recommend keeping your forehead on the bench. If you're not really sure what I'm talking about, go to my Instagram and look at my latest video. It's in there. It's the shoulder workout I just posted this past Sunday. And it has, I think, about 7 different shoulder exercises in there. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. I know you recommend that your clients have cheat meals, but I would like to know how often that you yourself have cheat meals. I don't do scheduled cheat meals, so I don't have a particular day or a particular time of day that I do a cheat meal, okay? When I used to compete, I used to usually pick my cheat meal would be after my leg workout, and I would usually have it at the end of the day. And the reason I would do that was because my leg workouts would take the most out of me, right? So if I was dieting for a show, my leg workouts were always the most draining. The reason I'd always had the cheat meal at the end of the day is because it would stop me from craving more sugar, more carbs, more salty foods afterwards. So it's my last meal of the day, I have it, and I go to bed. I wake up, I get right back on the diet again. Okay, so that's when I used to compete. But now that I'm not competing, what I typically do is I'll have a so-called cheat meal whenever I want. Okay, so that doesn't mean I have one every day though. So typically my diet's actually probably more clean now that I don't compete than when I did compete. I just eat more good food. So I'm not really craving the shitty foods. With that being said though, when I go out to a restaurant, I don't go crazy off the diet. I'll try to find something that's healthy on the menu. But as I mentioned in my Instagram stories, I don't look at the oils, the sauces. I don't do portions or cut my portions in half. I have the meal, okay? So I don't really make any modifications to my meals when I go out to restaurants. With that being said, though, when I am working with someone who is trying to lose weight or trying to lean out, I will ask them to make modifications if they go out to a restaurant. But for myself personally, I go out to restaurants maybe 2-3 times a week, and I typically will stick with the healthiest option I can find. And I just won't worry about the portion sizes. I won't worry about the sauces or the oils. I'll usually just have it as is, and I'll usually take out 1 or 2 of my regular meals to compensate for the additional caloric intake. But that's about it. But I no longer crave cheat meals. So I'm not someone who will sit at home and order a pizza or have burger and fries, because that's not just who I am. I feel usually if I have that type of food, I usually feel like hungover the next day. So I stay away from it. It doesn't do well with my body. So I don't do scheduled cheat meals. I haven't done a scheduled cheat meal in probably, oh God, maybe 4 years now. So this doesn't work for my body. But if you are going to do scheduled cheat meals, my recommendation is to keep that cheat meal at the end of the day, so it stops you from craving more bad junk food later on in the day. Okay. Nick, what do you think about full body MRI scans that can detect cancer early? Oh, I think those are awesome. I think they're great. I believe throughout North America, there's only about 11 locations right now. But I also know with those MRI scans, they can also detect other forms of not just cancer, but they can detect MS, right? One of the things they can detect too is brain aneurysms. Sorry, my alarm's going off. they can detect brain aneurysms as well, right? So they don't just detect cancers, right? So they're great though, right? But I believe they're about $2,500 US right now to do them. But I know more and more people are signing up for them now because they do help you detect these issues earlier on in life. So as anyone knows, if you catch cancer in stage 1 versus stage 3 or 4, your odds of beating it are much, much better, right? So I think they're great. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't afford $2,500 to go get an MRI scan, right? So it's something that is not widely available to the general public right now. But I think with time, like anything, it will become more and more accessible to more people. So I think it's just a matter of time. But right now, I think it's great. So if you can afford it, my recommendation is do it, right? Especially if you're, you say you're someone in your late 40s, early 50s, it's good just to go get it done, right? I mentioned this a few years ago when I had my seizure, and even my neurologist joked about this. We did a full CT scan, we did a full MRI on my head. I did a few EEGs, which are sleep tests, to see what was going on with my brainwaves when I slept. And I, knock on wood, I came out with a clear bill of health. So there was actually nothing wrong with my head. Probably something wrong with my head, but there was nothing wrong with my brain. Okay. So I had a one-off seizure. But the great thing about that was that we knew there was nothing going on. I had no tumors. I had no MS, no brain cancer, nothing like that. So it did kind of, make me feel better knowing that I didn't have any of these issues. But the only reason I had those tests done was because I had a seizure. So you don't want to have a seizure to go get those tests done. So it's good to actually just go, and if you can afford it, get the test, pay for it, do it, and then you at least know what's going on with your body. I have a lot of clients, especially guys, who usually put their head in the sand about this type of stuff, and they don't want to go get checked because they're afraid of what they're going to hear. But again, you want to find out this information earlier in life than you want to find out, say, a year or two down the road when it's already too late, right? So it's good to be proactive. You have to be an advocate for your own health. And listen, here in Canada, I'm not going to knock our healthcare system, but I will say that, for example, I had a client last year who was diagnosed with stage 2 prostate cancer. And, he was put on a waiting list to get surgery done. So fortunately for him, he has the money. So what he did was he just flew out to the States and had it done in Phoenix. He paid for it to have it done right away, the surgery. He didn't want to wait. But unfortunately, a lot of people are not in that same position. They can't afford to do that. So they have to go on that waiting list. And I'm a firm believer that the longer you wait, the worse your chance becomes at beating the cancer. So I think these MRI scans are great. I think it's going to take some time before there's, first of all, more locations. So I believe there's only 11 throughout North America right now. I do believe they're opening up one though here in British Columbia soon, or if it's not already open. But I think that's just in the next few weeks. But yeah, about $2,500 US, which again is going to work out to a lot of money for some people. So it's great. And if you can afford it, my recommendation, do it. Hi, Nick. What's your opinion on knee and elbow straps in the gym? I see some guys using them for squats and bench pressing, but wonder if they offer any benefits. They offer benefits to powerlifters. So powerlifters are typically men and women who lift very heavy weight for, that 1 to 3 repetitions. In that case, I can see why you'd want to protect your joints with knee straps and elbow wraps. But for the average person who goes to the gym, no, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think, first of all, if you're someone who just goes to the gym just to train for general health and fitness, and you want to put on some muscle, lose some fat, you don't need to lift ridiculously heavy weights. So there's no reason, in my opinion, to use knee straps or elbow braces. I think those have benefits, but I think it's more for powerlifters. I do think it's quite comical when I see the average gym person going to the gym and, they put on their knee straps, they put on their weightlifting belt, they put on their elbow braces, and they're just basically doing a bodybuilding workout with not weights that are ridiculously heavy. So I don't think they're necessary for the average person. Even myself, when I used to compete, I never used knee braces or elbow braces, and I got up to squatting 425 for 10 reps, but I never felt that I needed them because I always was controlling the weight and I never felt the weight in my joints. The only thing I ever used was a weight belt, and I still use a weight belt to this day when I'm doing barbell back squats, because I never want to throw my lumbar region out or put any additional strain on my lower back or my discs, right? So especially that L4, L5 region. So that's the only time I use a weightlifting belt. But I honestly don't think you need to have knee straps or elbow braces unless you are a powerlifter and you're lifting incredibly heavy weight. And look, there'll be people that will argue and say, well, I've got knee problem or I have elbow pain. And in that case, my recommendation is, well, make sure you're warming up the muscle sufficiently first and train the muscle properly. So train the muscle surrounding the joint. So if you're someone who suffers from, let's say, patellofemoral syndrome, right, in your knee, well, what you have to do then is you have to try to strengthen your quadriceps, your hamstrings, and your calves. So that means you might not be able to start your workout with barbell back squats, but maybe instead start your workout off with some seated leg extensions, right? Some lying hamstring machine curls. That will help release synovial fluid into the muscles and will help lubricate the joints. So then slowly you can start incorporating those barbell back squats again. And then you can start going light, do high repetitions, and then slowly start increasing the weight and lowering the repetitions. But honestly, if you follow that format that I've told people for years to do, is which keep your reps between that 10 to 15 rep range, that sweet spot, you shouldn't really experience any joint pain, right? Because you're doing high repetitions, which means the weight's moderately heavy, and you're keeping the weight, the pressure and the resistance on the muscle bellies, not the joints. Okay, so that's my recommendation: is don't lift too heavy. If you feel like you need to wear knee braces and elbow braces because your elbows and your knees are just killing you while you're training, use them, but it's not helping them because it's not correcting the problem. To me, that's just masking the problem. You're not fixing it. You're not actually making your joints any stronger. The only way you're going to make your joints stronger is if you make the muscle bellies surrounding the joints stronger. Okay, you also have to make your body more efficient at releasing synovial fluid throughout the body to lubricate the joints. So my recommendation is to not use them unless you're a powerlifter and you're training for a powerlifting event. By all means, if you're doing that 1 to 3 reps, I imagine you're lifting some pretty heavy ass weight. So I can see why the straps and the elbows would be beneficial. But for the average person, I feel they offer no benefits whatsoever. Hi, Nick. If I'm trying to lose weight, would it be better to train on an empty stomach? I usually train around 10 a.m. in the morning. So this is more of an individual-based answer, right? And the reason why it's more of an individual base is because everyone's different. So for example, I train a lot of people, and I mentioned this in the past, I train a lot of people who train with me at like 6 a.m. in the morning, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. For these people, the thought of having food before an intense workout is going to make them throw up. A lot of people, their digestive tracts, their metabolisms are a little bit slow, so it takes them a longer period of time to digest that food before an intense workout. So for these people, I generally recommend do not eat before you train. There's a lot of people like myself who can eat like 3 minutes before they go into the gym and have no problem. So I have a very fast metabolism though. So my body will be able to digest that food fairly quickly and then I'm fine to go train. So first of all, you have to figure out, do I have a fast metabolism? Do I have a slow metabolism? How long is it going to take me to digest this food? And then to answer your question, is it more effective if you're trying to lose weight? Well, yes and no, because if you're trying to lose weight, my recommendation is to do cardio in a fasted state because you don't really need to have food in you to do cardio, right? If you're going for a run or you're going for a speed walk or you're going to be for 30 minutes on the elliptical trainer or the stationary bike, you don't really need to have that many calories in you. You might need a cup of coffee for some energy, but that's it. So in that case, I would recommend performing your cardio in a fasted state. But as far as weightlifting is concerned, I know for myself personally, regardless if I'm training at 6 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night, I need to have food in me. If I don't, my blood sugar levels just crash and my energy levels just, boom, they go right to the basement. So I need something to help replenish my glycogen storages. So I'll usually have about 30 to 50 grams of carbohydrates about maybe, for me, 15 minutes before I train. But that doesn't work for everyone. Okay. So the great thing is if you're trying to lose weight and you're going to the gym and you're like, I'm training, like you said, train at 10 o'clock in the morning. If you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, you feel like, I can have like maybe half a cup of oats with some protein powder. I would say do that because what's going to happen is once you get to the gym and you're weight training, you're going to be able to use those calories from the oatmeal and the protein powder, use the carbohydrates to help replenish your glycogen storages. You're going to have a really intense weight workout. And then what I would do is after the weight workout, I would do 20 to 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. So if you're at a commercial gym, that could be running on the treadmill or speed walk on the treadmill, on the elliptical trainer, stationary bike, step mill, whatever. The time you get to that cardiovascular portion of your workout, you will already be in a fasted state because your body will have utilized all those carbohydrates, all those calories, the protein from your your previous meal that you had at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. So you will be in a fasted state. But again, it's an individual based answer is because everyone is different. So you have to find the formula that works for you. And that sometimes is a trial and error period, because it's not just about losing weight, but it's also how is your body going to perform throughout your workouts. Are you going to perform more intense with a little bit of food in you, or less intense? Because I know some people, when they have some food in them, they feel very like lethargic, and it's because their body's not digesting that food. So to answer that question, if you want to lose weight, I would be looking at the most effective way to lose this weight is by how intense your workouts is. Because if you're going to the gym and you haven't eaten yet and you notice that, oh, I have no energy, well, then your workout's going to be lackluster and not intense. You're not going to be burning any calories, or you're not going to be burning as much calories. So you want to be able to fuel your body enough that you can get a really high intense workout. And then if you're trying to lose weight, as I mentioned, trying to lose weight, do your cardio after your weight session. So do like 40 minutes of weight training and then immediately go to the cardio portion and do 20, 30 minutes of cardio. And that will help you lose body fat while preserving and building muscle. All right. Is that it? No. Oh, one more question. Hi, Nick. How do you deal with clients who constantly show up late for the workouts? Does it annoy you? You know what's funny? It's never annoyed me. And the reason it doesn't annoy me is because the clients are paying. Oh, sorry, one second. My alarm again. My alarm keeps going off today. I don't know why. The one reason it doesn't bother me is because the clients are paying for my time, right? And it's also their time. So why should it bother me? This is a time that they are booking for their workout. So they're paying me to be there regardless. So if someone books me in at, say, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they don't show up, or they show up 30 minutes late, it doesn't affect me. I'm still there. So it's never annoyed me. The one thing I will remind people, though, is if they're late, if they're constantly late, they're not going to get the benefits of a full 60-minute or 45-minute workout, right? Because we offer both 45-minute and 60-minute sessions. So if you're doing a 45-minute session with me and you show up 15 minutes late, well, now you're only getting 30 minutes. So that's going to affect your results. It doesn't affect my results. I'm there, but it's going to affect your results. So again, I train adults. I don't work with children. So people know if they're late, they're late. If they don't show up, they don't show up. If they cancel last minute, they cancel last minute. But again, it never annoys me, because I always look at it as this person is booking time with me, but they're paying for that time. So now this is their time. Yes, it's my time in a sense that I'm spending it with you, but it's your time slot. You're paying for it. So if you want to come in half an hour late for a 60-minute session, do it. If you want to come in and just talk to me about how the Canucks are doing, sure. I will try to remind you, though, that you're not getting the most out of your workouts. But again, the way I look at it is I am dealing with adults here. So I don't need to constantly remind people that they shouldn't be showing up late, or that they shouldn't be missing their workouts, or that they actually, when they get to the gym, they should be training with the utmost amount of intensity. So I don't need to remind people of this. People know this, especially my clients. They understand this. So I've never got annoyed with it. I do have some trainers that tell me they themselves get annoyed because they plan a session and then, they feel that they're being disrespected because let's say they plan for a 60-minute workout and the client shows up 20, 30 minutes late. Well, now they're going to have to modify that workout. And for those trainers, I just tell them, I'm like, mention that to your clients. Just let them know that they're not getting the full benefit of this workout because they showed up 30 minutes late. And, if they say, well, that's the way it is, that's the way it is. But, then some people might be like, you know what, you're right. I'm not getting the most out of this workout. I'm paying for this time. I want to get the most out of my training session. So I'm going to show up on time. And I've seen that happen with a lot of clients too in the past, where people, they get in this habit of constantly showing up late. And then, they see that they're not getting the full benefits of the workout. And it's kind of like they're just wasting money. So why would you want to waste money, right? But those are the people that once they see that, they're like, I'm going to start making an effort to show up on time. And they usually do. And then there's people who they never learn. So again, working with adults. So it doesn't annoy me. It's never annoyed me. As I said, I'm there regardless. I'll wait for someone. If someone's like 15, 20 minutes late, I might send them a text to see if they're okay. Maybe they slept in, maybe they're in traffic. But again, it doesn't irritate me. I've always got something to do while I'm waiting. I'll usually answer a few emails, or I'll update something on social media, or knowing me, I usually clean up the gym. So I always keep myself busy. So it's never annoyed me. It's never been an issue for me. And I've never had to fire a client over it, because again, the way I look at it, if the client is paying for the time. So yes, it's my time, but they're paying for it. So it's actually their time. So to answer that question, no, it's never annoyed me. Doesn't bother me. I don't really let too many things stress me out when it comes to that. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Tuesday, November the 13th, I believe. Is that right? November the 13th? November the 14th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting my business, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.